Okay, here we are today to interview Coach Ray Cliffe. And this proclamation that you see here was given to him by the mayor in, I believe, Coach, 1998 it says. And I'd like to read it. They dedicated a building. They built an extension building on at Cleveland High School, which is the basketball gymnasium and the auditorium there, gymnasium. And this is from the mayor of the city of St. Louis. It says, whereas on June the 9th, 1998, the gymnasium building at Cleveland High School will be renamed in honor of former athletic coach Raymond D. Cliffe Jr. And whereas Coach Cliffe first came to Cleveland High School as a student in 1939 and immediately excelled as both a student and a member of the varsity football team. And whereas after graduation from the University of Missouri, where he continued his exceptional football career, which included his appearances in the 1946 Cotton Bowl, Coach Cliffe began his successful coaching career with his first coaching position at St. Louis County Day School.
Country Day.
Country Day, yes. Whereas in 1955, after coaching at both Soldan High School and Central High School, Coach Cliffe returned to his alma mater, Cleveland High School, where he spent the next 29 years coaching football, baseball, soccer, and wrestling. And you taught there too. We'll talk about what you used to teach. Whereas head football coach at Cleveland High School, from 1955 to 1973, he was the head coach. Coach Cliffe's teams recorded 107 wins, 66 losses, and 13 ties, as well as 3 championships and 2 undefeated seasons. And whereas Coach Cliffe is a member of the St. Louis Athletic Association Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Amateur Baseball Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Metropolitan Football Coaches Hall of Fame, and the Missouri High School Football Coaches Association. And whereas Coach Cliffe has lived a life dedicated to hard work and professionalism, is an outstanding role model to all of the young men and women whose lives he has touched. Now therefore I, Clarence Harmon, Mayor of the City of St. Louis, do hereby proclaim June the 9th, 1998, as Coach Raymond D. Cliffe Day in the City of St. Louis. Witness thereof, by my hand and signature, Clarence Harmon. Coach, it was a great honor for you. And
overwhelmed me.
Well, you earned it, Coach. You know, you taught, tell us what you taught, and then we got Dan Weichel here is going to interview us. When you came to Cleveland, you taught art and also taught
History.
History, yep. And you're up on the 3rd floor, if I remember.
3rd floor Angel.
Third, is that right?
Yeah, we used the entire 3rd floor as a art class, making scenery for the productions for Miss Mann. And it was quite a task. We did need 100 feet to do these sceneries, you know. We did about around 5 to 6 sceneries per set.
Like murals, like in the back for the scenes? And you painted all those, did you?
Yeah. Well, with my guide, the students participated in that, so that was a part of their class activity, and they were great at such.
Is that right?
So Butch Houston thought it was a great idea that I used the hall. I used the entire hall.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. Dan, I know you like to ask Coach some questions.
Well, you don't get the combination of art teacher and football coach. I've never heard anything like that. How'd you come about the artist part of you?
I started doing this when I was a youngster in the elementary school at St. Columkill, which was an elementary grade school, Catholic grade school in South St. Louis. And I was drawing the little cartoons for the school newspaper. And I went to Blow School, South St. Louis, and as a 9th grader, and I did the same thing. They had some kind of a periodical there, and I did the that kind of a thing. And then I went to art classes at Cleveland, and I began to do things that were attractive, drawings of dogs and animals and that. And I started going on, and I started doing the other scenes and that. I was encouraged by my teacher then, and I felt very comfortable with it. And I enjoy also history. And Dan, as a result of that, when I went to the University of Missouri and enrolled there, I enrolled in every art class they had and every history class. And after I graduated, I had to go to Washington University to get my accreditation in teaching, because I was not qualified as a per se, I knew the subject matter, but mythology and that I had to go to Warshu to get it. So this was amusing because I had I just bombarded myself with classes. I had over 40 hours of accreditation in art, over 40 hours in history, because I enjoyed it, because I aced every class. Mm-hmm. So it was fun for me, and whoops, no education. So I had to go to Warshu to get my accreditation.
What sports did you play in high school?
I played baseball, I swam, and I played baseball, football.
Who were your heroes, your sports heroes back then? Who were the players that you idolized? Who were your heroes?
Oh, Wizard White. I remember that. Crazy Lee Hirsch. I remember those players. Barney Pooh. These were the players I recall,
Yeah.
who were All-Americans or the idols.
Who'd you play?
Tom Harmon.
Who'd you play football for at Cleveland? Didn't you play for a famous guy?
Oh, yeah. Probably the most famous coach in the Midwest was Bert E. Faninga. He was from Yankton, South Dakota, and his wife was Ruth, and her father was Indian agent for the Sioux Nation, and so Bert was a raw-boned, tough guy. I loved him, and he was a master in diction and in English.
Was he the football coach at Cleveland you
He
played
was
for?
and baseball.
And baseball.
Yeah, he was my baseball coach, football coach.
And aren't you going into another Hall of Fame this coming Sunday that I'm going to attend? Tell us about that. How many Hall of Fames are you in, Coach?
I'm in 7.
7.
7 Hall of Fames, and
And the one Sunday coming up?
this one Sunday is it's just a leg of what I already belong to this National Football Foundation Hall of Fame. I got the Eddie Kochum Award, an amateur football contribution and coaching. Eddie Kochum was the first coach to introduce the forward pass at St. Louis U. This is back in 1904 or 19 somehow.
Newt Rockne era.
No, this is before Newt.
Before Newt.
Yeah, before Newt and his the other buddy. Yeah, this is long before that.
Uh-huh.
No, I would say about 5 years.
What position did you play?
I played guard. I was just quick, and when I played at Missouri, Harry Smith, who was all-time All-American for USC, he was my line coach, and he said I was quick as a chipmunk. So I got a nickname there. It was not a derogatory term, but some people look at me, chipmunk.
Yeah.
No,
Didn't Martin Kilcoyne interview on the Martin Kilcoyne from Fox News? Didn't he call you chipmunk all the time?
Because he heard that from my friend whom I went to school with, Skip Irwin, who did a great job with KMOX radio station and various networks, and he and I have been dear friends for 60 years, and so I was a co-host on his sports program, and oftentimes he'd call Martin up, and Martin and I would participate in radio digests of whatever subject matter we're talking about, and also Steve Savar and guys like that. So it's been fun. I've been co-hosting several radio programs.
And you coached for how many years?
42 years.
2 sports. Football? Mostly football?
Football and baseball, both for
baseball.
42 years, yeah.
So you saw a lot of good players.
Pardon?
You had a lot of good players.
Oh, yes. Yes, very much. Yes, Dan.
And where does how'd you get associated with Terry? Talk about the early days of young Terry.
Well,
Yochum.
Terry never was bewildered by anything. He was always into everything, whole hog, complete person. He always was involved, emotionally, physically. He just broke. He broke the ice. He went right in. He took the plunge and was always a motivator, and he sort of warmed up my heart. There's 2-3 guys in your lifetime. Scotty Swaffer, who was died of a heart attack at Washington University, reviewing the game film, and they won the game, and then I don't know what happened, but died. And then there's Mark Miller. I had about around Dennis Rill, and then Dr. Blasowitz, I got a scholarship for him through Yale, and I'm just thinking some of the highlights. Then there's a guy who had a great heart with Tom Mogilnicki, went down the Cape. They had the heart. They had the exceptional thing. A lot of guys had skills. A lot of guys, great contribution. There's about 88 players whom I helped get a scholarship, play major ball. 88. So I felt very pleased. We had about around, at one time, 8 or 9 guys playing the Big 8, and we had 4 or 5 kids at the same time playing in the service academies. Mm-hmm. So I felt that was a good indication we were doing the right thing at our program at Cleveland High School.
And what kind of player was Terry? Talk about how he related to his teammates and what he did for the atmosphere of the team, because that's the biggest thing is.
Well, Terry was never lost for words. Okay.
That hasn't changed.
and Terry was I felt a very strong contributor towards the game of baseball. In fact, I tell you what, I think he's still a teenager. I really believe that his enthusiasm towards and the love of the game has not diminished at all. He's looking forward to every day how to improve the game, how to improve himself. And he hasn't changed since high school. I mean, he's a hot dog.
How'd you hold him back?
You don't hold Terry back. You don't hold him back. No, he's an effervescent, contagious hot dog. He loves to participate. He loves it. He loves doing it.
How'd you get the best out of him? Coaches are always great motivators. How'd you get the best out of Yochum?
Let him do his thing. Let him do his thing. That's really it. You'd be surprised. When you try to coach, sometimes you muddle up the scene. You mean, Dan?
Yeah.
Sometimes a product is best left untouched. You guide them to a point, you coach them to a point, but you let out the best of their ability come out. I think today, sometimes you can overcoach a kid.
Micromanage.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And you mean, I was strict on my rules of attending practice, attending school. I was very strict about that. In fact, I told one kid one time, you can miss this and that, but you can't miss my football practice or my baseball practice. You cannot do it. You can be sick at home or sick, lame, and lazy, but don't miss my practice.
Right. What buttons did you push on this guy?
Yeah.
What were Terry's buttons to get him going? Did you have to tell him anything? Coaches know how to.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't have to tell Terry much to get him going. He had that innate ability to really get himself fired up. Terry, in his own world, he knew what his directions were. He knew his compassion. He had the zest, and he had the gusto to play. That's the way he did it. He never held back.
How do you handle losses?
What could have been, what should have been, we would have won all the way.
How about the other teammates? How'd they respond to him? Because Terry, all his life, he's kind of been out in front drawing fire.
Well, how other teams grasp and how they just look at him. They just look at him. They just stare and look at him. What is this? They just wonder what the hell's going on. And he didn't give a shit. He just right on. He plowed right ahead and smiled and gave a good grin.
He's always good at getting under people's skin.
I don't know. If you can't join us, don't belong with us. If you don't like our enthusiasm, you don't like our approach, get lost.
So he pitched for you, he played third base for you?
Yep.
Did he ever steal a base for you?
Wasn't too fast.
I often said he ran like a damn garbage wagon. Pulled his garbage with flies and all over him.
That hasn't changed.
No. I tell you what, you can't take away from Terry his heart. The heart of the game, the heart he loves that he puts into it, the enthusiasm he jumps in with both feet and arms and legs. Everything is all whole hog or none.
Mm-hmm.
His enthusiasm is that way. And it's contagious. It's very contagious because if you don't have that the zeal and the zest and the gusto, which he has, that's the best way to describe it. He's a man of gusto. He goes out and does it. And everything he does is first class. And then nothing, don't cut corners, let's do it right. Mm-hmm. That's always, I found that.
That's Billy.
So where were we at here?
Well, we started yet?
We're running. Well, I want to talk about...
I want well, just one thing.
Okay.
Dan, sideline. I broke into officiating, on a high school level, Dave Phillips,
Davey Phillips, yeah.
who was a 30-year Major League umpire.
He was at the banquet last Saturday night. The
And
Hall of
he's,
Fame.
also
Sits at my table.
a big-time basketball official, a
That-
Division I basketball official.
I broke him into basketball, high school, and we've had the first 2 games he and I worked were 100-plus games.
That's a lot of running.
And he walked up to me after the second, and he said, "Coach, is it always like this?" I said, "No." He said, "This is a killer." We worked on a Friday night and a Saturday night, and he told me, "Is this like this all the time?"
And that's back in the two-man days when
Yeah,
you
two-man
had to
mechanic.
run with
Yeah.
him.
And we were at Mercy High School.
Mercy High School.
Terry's told so many Ray Cliffe stories to me in the years that I've known him. Terry, what was Ray like to play for?
Well, one of my biggest disappointments was the fact that I never got to play football for him. Because while he was a great baseball coach, I think in many ways you were an even better football coach. You were a great baseball coach. I don't mean to denigrate that at all. You were a great coach at everything. But your heart, your love, your inspiration, he was the Vince Lombardi of Cleveland High School. And when I came to Cleveland, after having pitched a 12-inning game down at Heine Mine's that you saw the night before I started, remember? I beat Jan Schmidt and Fisher from Bayless, got the hit to win the game, right? Jerry Lawson threw the ball over the center fielder's head, from center field over the catcher's head, won that game. You cornered me up at Cleveland within a month of starting and said, hey, you're that boy that pitched that game down there and beat Chard and beat Schmidt and all them guys. How about coming out and play some football? Well, I heard about Ray Cliffe. I knew all about it. He was a legend in South St. Louis. So I'll play football. If Cliff's there, I want to be there, right? My dad would not sign the thing.
Parent consent card.
Wouldn't sign the parent consent to play. So Coach called my dad, and, my dad was so afraid that I hurt my shoulder. My dad had some dreams for me that I might be able to play Major League Baseball. And of course, I never played football for Coach Cliffe. So for me, that's one of my biggest disappointments in high school, because he was the greatest motivator of people. And so what was it like? You remind me of another guy I played for, Ed Fogarty. Remember Ed Fogarty?
Oh, yeah.
Minor league umpire.
Mm-hmm.
He coached Flex Light when Rusty Newman and Bill Davis and Bill Dawes, whose dad went in at the Hall of Fame Saturday night. Bobby Schneitz from CBC, Bobby Long, all those guys. Draghi, right?
Oh, yeah.
CBC, Draghi was on that team.
Bill Draghi.
Bill Draghi, Dr. Bill Draghi. You reminded me of Fogarty. Fogarty reminded me of you. What it was like to play for Ray Cliffe was, if you had a certain level or ability for any one particular game, Ray Cliffe could get out of you what you knew you didn't have. Ray Cliffe could, without yelling at you or could give you the drive and the one of motivation to play harder, give more, and he could find out of each and every athlete he ever coached the best and more than they knew they had. And that was Coach Cliffe. Coach Cliffe made you a player better than you knew you were because of his ability to inspire people and how he dealt with people. You were a people kind of person. And that's Coach Cliffe. There was no other guy in St. Louis at that level who, yeah, you had good players, Coach. Of course you had good players. You had to have the horses to run the race. But he got more out of those horses. Yeah. You got more out of me, the guys around, Dennis Rill and Mueller, Mark Mueller, all those guys. You made them better.
The Mueller franchise.
The Mueller franchise. Jerry Mueller, Mark Mueller, Johnny Mueller.
Jimmy Miller.
Jimmy Mueller. So
his sister.
Yeah. So that was Coach Cliffe.
Probably the best athlete of the bunch, right?
Oh yeah.
The great motivator. The great motivator.
For instance, now when I had a football coach, my football coach in high school was a DU All-American, and he put you in situations like you got one loaf of bread left and your family's starving. And those turkeys across the field broke into your house and they stole that last loaf of bread. And I mean, he used to just get you crazy with those stories. Well, you know, that was, and you'd run through a wall for a guy like that.
Well, that's
okay?
right.
So tell me about how Ray do it.
Well, that's what Ray would do. I mean, you know, you see that's the enemy. And you see, this is our house. Nobody comes into our house. And Ray would put it in such a way that you didn't really want to win so much for yourself as you wanted to win for him. You know, you never wanted to let him down because he was given maximum and he was not prepared to accept failure. Coach, I was not prepared to accept failure. Part of that spirit in me came from high school and came from you. Not Coach Niebel. Forget about that, Coach. Forget Carlton Niebel. That spirit from me to drive to win came from you. And you gave it to Dennis Rill, and you tell him, I mean, how you did it. I mean, how'd you motivate us guys?
First of all, I think motivation is a very pet word to use, but I think if you really get inside a kid's mind, his mindset, that is, I think, is a part of coaching. You do it in several ways. You do it with a reward, or you do it with indifference. If you feel a kid is not working to his capacity, you ignore him. And then you chew ass, the kid is trying hard, or the kid is you feel is can do better, you ignore. Because one thing, a lot of times, they got to find themselves. That's the secret. Find yourself. And that's the guy named Frank Melton, used to be a great line coach out at Nebraska. He said, inside of each kid there's a motivation button. And sometimes you don't have to touch him, but you got to find that button.
Now, what was Yochum? Was he a chew ass or an ignore type of kid? Where was he in the mix? You ever chew on him or you just ignore him?
Ignore him. Because you know, when a kid is intelligent, then you can use and like Rill, you don't chew Rill's ass out. He'll draw away, and same with him. You don't do that. It's like a thoroughbred, as opposed to a Clydesdale, or a mule. So when you treat them differently, you can't. Hey, a mule likes to be beat. They love to be clubbed, you know. A thoroughbred just flinches, you know. So that's why I look at it. Certain guys, you praise them, ignore them,
yeah,
or you swat them.
So Terry,
and that can be done both verbally and physically.
Yeah.
Nowadays, hands off policy. But I used to know. I grab kids, kick them in the shin, grab their face mask, give them an elbow across the chest. Wake up call.
Yeah, I used to get that. That's the old school. Terry, so you got ignored, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when?
Well, he didn't. I don't know if it was.
I can't imagine anybody ignoring you, or you letting him ignore you.
I don't know if it was ignored, but I was always seeking his respect and his adoration, right? Because he was the coach, right? So I would do whatever I could, in order to.
He tried to emulate the coach.
Yeah, get his attention and whatever, but You never chewed me out much. I mean,
No.
you, like Dennis Rill, who was one of your outstanding football players, you pretty well kind of guided me in the direction, and you knew when I went, I was going to perform, and when I had the chance to perform, you gave me the opportunity. I'm going to give you my best. I'm going to give you 100%, 110%. You knew that.
All right, Dennis Rill is a pointed question.
Football guy, big football
Outstanding strong man. He was a Missouri light heavyweight weightlifting champ in Missouri.
Yeah.
And he was working with Gary Cleveland. They were two outstanding. For the build and everything else, they could snatch 300 pounds off it. Military press off it.
Yeah.
And then Dennis was a natural athlete and 165 IQ. It was awful hard to beat a dog.
Dennis went on to become an MD ophthalmologist, and I talked to Dennis. We're still good friends, and Dennis was smarter than me. He figured out how to retire 15 years ago, Coach.
Yes.
Made a whole lot of money as an
Still making
ophthalmologist
money.
from Marion, Illinois, invested it, and then he retired. He got smarter than me. I'm still reading x-rays, so he got smarter than me. But Dennis was a smart guy and a strong guy.
Well,
he's a lot smarter than I was, Coach.
Dennis, I sort of verbally chastised him for being in a class, physics class, with a guy named Muddy Waters. Remember?
Yeah.
And in the class there, he bantered the lecturer so bad. He said, "You're wrong," and he kept telling the teacher, "You're wrong." So the teacher went to the principal, Butch Houston, and asked me to intercede that, hey, this guy's Rill is really chewing him up in the classroom, spitting him out. So I snuck in the class back door, and I laid back and stayed in the shadows and wait for Dennis. And Dennis was, nope, got to read a textbook. Get one page ahead of us because you don't know what you're doing. Okay, I hear this all. So I saw Dennis outside, and I said, Dennis, you ought to keep your mouth shut. And then he got mad at me. He refused to play football for me.
And he was your big-time fullback, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Big time. Went to Air Force Academy on a scholarship. This guy was big time.
So anyway, I said, okay, Dennis. So Dennis got even with me. He won the individual weightlifting champ of Missouri, and the snatch and jerk and that. So during the spring, I knew I needed some extra edge, for a better season. So he deliberately walked past my classroom every day. So I pat him on the ass. I said, Dennis, you look good. I'd like to see you come out for football. Yes, sir. And he turned out to have an all-state performance. Scored 17 touchdowns in the public high league, which was very unheard of.
Yeah.
And then and everybody wanted him. Duke, with the University, Notre Dame, Missouri, and the academies.
Mm-hmm.
He fell in love with the Air Force Academy.
Easy to do.
And that's what he did.
Yeah.
So finally, Dennis got even with me.
He did, huh?
All he wanted was that question. He walked by your door and just waiting for him to be noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, just say something. Now you guys must have taken some pretty good journeys together on a baseball field.
Well,
You had to have some big games somewhere along.
we had plenty of big games, but the majority of my coaching career was unfortunate with Carlton Nebel. And,
The man was sick.
the guy was just brutal, and,
He's still
he was
sick.
his assistant, and so a lot of the big games, Coach wasn't there, Nebel was there.
But you played for Coach Cliffe, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This was what, during the summers then?
yeah.
Yeah, in the summertime. And Nebel did a lot of the high school coaching in baseball. And then when he finally dropped the ball, he then took over the head coaching job at Cleveland. And I didn't get to play for you.
Our principal got disgusted. He was teaching his religious viewpoints in classroom, in a public format. You don't do that.
Right.
Hey, Coach, Joe Lawson's catching a game. I'm pitching a game against, I think Roosevelt High School.
Yeah.
Roosevelt had a good team. We were at Cleveland at home, right?
Yeah.
And I'm having a tough time. Okay, you weren't there that day. Nebel's running the team, and they're ripping me. I mean, they're ripping me big time. I'm down the middle of the plate. It's about the third inning. They've already scored 6 or 7 runs. They're hitting rockets. Sounds like guns in Navarone, right? So here comes Coach Nebel. He calls timeout. Well, Joe Lawson, your fullback, is catching. Joe's as big as a house, right? And Joey caught me many times. Joe Lawson caught Rusty Newman at Central, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were fraternity brothers. So here comes Joe out there, and here comes Nebel. Well, I needed a little coach in that. He brought a Bible to the mound, and he's reading Matthew 23 to me while I'm getting my tits ripped by Roosevelt High School. And Joe Lawson takes that mask off, and he's looking at me, and Joe's just shaking his head. Like, I need some help. I need some encouragement, like you used to do. Terry, you're going to be something to settle me down. I mean, I was falling apart. I'm having a bad day. I need a little help. Settle me down. Get me off the middle of the plate. Tell me something. Not Matthew 23.
So put Ray Cliffe in that scenario.
Well, Ray Cliffe in
You
that
guys must have had a couple.
Sure,
of
Ray
those
Cliffe
meetings.
comes out in that scenario. And
Well,
Ray, what would tell him what you do?
What
Tell him
the
what you.
are you doing? Don't you think? Quit throwing BBs. You look at me. No. You're throwing up there, you're throwing a Nerf ball, you're throwing the softball up there. Throw aspirins. I said, now, think. That's all I say is think. And I walk off. You don't, I'll say, what are you doing, with emphasis.
Get in his face.
Get in his face. Oh, yeah, that time you got to get in their face. Now listen, what are you doing?
Got to model that intensity for him a little bit.
Yeah, he used to say, you want to stay, or you want to go. Because if you want to go, you're going to go.
Are you tired? Are you sick? Are you wimpy? I would say those things.
Yeah.
Look at me. And I said, don't look away. Look at me. I said, look at me. Look at my eyes.
How big was Coach Cliffe when he'd come out on the mountain like that?
Coach Cliffe was about
6'7"?
8 foot tall when he come walking to that mound, And I remember.
But he was staring down in my face.
I remember one game I was pitching at O'Fallon. You come out against Cooksey at O'Fallon
down.
Tech, right? And I'm having a little trouble, but I don't want to come out of the game, and I'm okay. And I hear you coming. I turn my back because I don't want him coming. I don't want to hear it. I don't want him taking me out of the game. You don't turn your back on this guy. I turn my back. I'm looking center field. I'm figuring Wemby out. No. Hey, Yochum, turn around. Look me in the eyes. You always say, look me in the eyes.
Always look me in the eyes. Don't look away from me.
Tough thing to do, huh?
Yeah.
And if he ever sensed, if Coach ever sensed in a football situation, in a baseball situation, in a pinch hit situation, in a pitching situation, in a relief pitch go in to close the game situation, if he ever sensed he had an uncanny sense of knowing whether that player had lost confidence. You had an uncanny ability.
I knew.
He knew. And if he felt you lost confidence, you're gone.
I said, give me the ball. Give me the ball.
You're done.
I knew this, Dan, I think it's intuitive after you've been around kids, their emotions and their sweat. Perspiration gives off that.
Yeah.
You can tell he's quitting on you. So a lot of kids don't realize that it's their mannerism, their body, their poise, their mechanics stink. That when they lose their mechanics on the mound, it's the time to go.
Yeah. So I bet somewhere along the line, Terry, you probably wanted to kill Coach Cliffe.
Well,
Often. Often.
I think the word kill. The word kill is an overkill. No, but there were.
I think that's a good term. That's good.
There were times when he'd come out. I didn't want to come out of the game. I mean, if the guy wants to come out of the game, he can't pitch for Coach Cliffe. The guy wants to come out of the game, he can't pitch for you. Or he ain't going to be on your starting rotation for long, because if he's wanting to come out of the game when you're coming out, you're getting rid of him.
Yeah.
And you ran some guys back down.
If he throws a white flag and surrenders too soon,
He's done.
he has no guts.
Yeah, you sent guys down to the junior varsity that were varsity guys that weren't up to the snuff. They can't handle it. See you later. This guy was the Vince Lombardi. I'm telling you, He had a Vince Lombardi spirit like that, and that's just the way he was. And if you weren't going to perform
Like
for him,
that-
get somebody else.
It's like anything in coaching. You have to have that feeling, that inner feeling of the player and who's out there. Oftentimes, I look at kids, Mark Miller had an injured shoulder, key game in football. And his arm is dragging. I said, Mark, you got enough left in you to finish this game? Yes, sir. And he comes through with a winning touchdown with a dislocated shoulder. But he wouldn't leave the game.
Because he didn't want to let you down.
He didn't want to let me down.
That's right.
And he didn't want to let the team down.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what?
And Mark, later, after you had gone, played 68 and 69, and we had undefeated season with him. And he scored 25 touchdowns in a season and over 2,000 yards rushing.
In how many games?
10 games.
25 touchdowns in 10 games?
That's big.
That ain't all athletic building. That's coaching too, boy.
No. I give credit to those kids.
He was a great player.
Whether you're a pitcher, you're a catcher, you're a center fielder, or you're a good running back, or you're a damn good pulling guard, it comes from the kids within.
But you got to know how to manage those
Yeah.
personalities.
You got to manage those.
So Coach, I've lived a certain dementia in my own mind. It's the title of this book, Coach. And maybe it's my own fantasy, but you saw me play. You saw Ron Kinney, left-handed. You saw Jerry Saborin, left-handed. Neither one of those guys were as big as me.
No,
Neither one of them was as strong as me.
but your heart was bigger.
And they were left-handed, and the Cardinals signed those guys for more money than I got offered. And neither one of them made it, but they got their name in the book. They were able to play minor league baseball. I wasn't. And I've always believed that with my ability, because I was bigger than Jan Schmidt too. Jan Schmidt, good right-hand pitcher. And Jan Schmidt had a bigger heart than Ron Kinney and Saborin both. Schmidt was a tiger.
I know.
I had the world of respect for Jan Schmidt. He was a right-hand pitcher. I was the right-hand pitcher. Ron Kinney left-handed. Ron Kinney was about 6 foot. And Jerry Saborin was only about 5'10". Both Jerry Saborin and Ron Kinney from our high school team, my era, both signed a pro contract with the Cardinals. And they had offered them more money and they went away. Kinney hurt his arm. Barney Schultz tried to teach him a damn knuckleball. And Saborin was a bit of a Looney Tune. And he had a bad first year and they let him go. Remember? And he went to Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it's my own fairy tale. But I've always believed that if I would have been left-handed, Coach, you had Ben Farley, I might have got a better
What could
shot.
have been or would have been, we all would be winners. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear if you were left.
If I could have changed
Right now, Terry, look at yourself. Look at yourself. What you are is what you are. And you're magnificent. So don't ever second guess that. You're so successful in your field and professionalism, and your dream man for baseball, you did your best, you gave your best,
That's right.
you played your best. Don't tell me you want to be a left-hander. Don't give me that.
You don't pull no punches.
I hope I come on too strong that way.
No, Coach, you shoot it straight. Say what you mean and mean
Oh,
what you
yeah,
say.
hell
man.
yeah. I don't want to hear
Mean what you say, man.
that is wannabe. You did a great job for me as a player, period. I don't want to hear any other excuses.
There you go.
You've made your niche. Look where you are now.
I'm still playing. I'm 60. I'm still pitching.
What's Jan Smith doing?
Not too much, Coach.
What is Ben Farley doing? He's a farmer up in northern Missouri. Gentleman farmer. Okay. He did oil. He did the oil business. Okay.
Jerry Sporen's gone.
Jerry Warren, yeah.
Jerry Sporen's gone in Vietnam.
He worked hard to get there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. So the guys that you wish you were like for a few bucks more, Well, you make a hell of a Western for a few dollars more. Huh? Come on. No. It's like me. If I was only bigger, I would have been an All-American.
Yeah.
That's what Clay Cooper told me, my great coach down in Missouri.
You were a guard, and how big were you
185 pounds.
as a guard, and how tall were you
5'8".
playing for University of Missouri?
Big
You played in the
six.
Cotton Bowl
Played in the cop ball, big 6, yeah.
at your size?
Yeah.
And how big were the guys on the right to the left of you?
200 and 300 pounders. I was always, so what am I going to do? What to be? What I am.
Yeah.
What I am.
You made the best of it.
Yeah, right.
It's the size of the fight in the dog. Isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a fight. That's right. The old Georgia Tech coach used to say that.
Yeah.
Or Georgia coach, I forgot which one. It's one of them.
Yeah. It's not.
No, it's that. It's a fight. It's a bite of the dog that worries you more than the fight of the dog.
And you know, Coach, I feel blessed that I was able to pitch till I was 31. You know, semi-pro. I played on the Geiger Collegians for Bill Davis. I pitched for CSMAC. You know, I played down the Heine Miney ABC League, Geisler, Jorgen.
I remember.
I pitched for Johnny MacArthur.
I remember.
I pitched for Johnny Mack for Anheuser-Busch when you were umpiring
I
games
know.
when I pitched. You and Bud
Miller.
Miller, the fireman, right?
Yeah, right.
And I remember a game out at ABC Park. I was pitching against Jerry Royce.
Mm-hmm.
And you were umpiring behind home plate, and Bud was on first base. And the lights at ABC Park in St. Anne, they were terrible. Not good, right? And Royce was on the mound. Well, I was like a senior. I think Royce was a sophomore from Rittner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he pitched for the Thoman Booth Legion team,
Right.
right? And you're behind home plate. So I come up to bat, right? Well, he's warming up. He threw a couple pitches over the catcher about 95 miles an hour. Huh. And I'm telling you, Coach, my sphincters are starting to tighten up. I mean, you know, you're a
Your gonads are moving.
so I go into bat, you know, I'm pitcher, I go into bat. He threw that first pitch. I know it was 90 plus. I already saw it. That pitch came in there. You rung that pitch up. I turned around to you. I'll never forget it. I looked you right in the eye. I said, well, sure in hell sounded like a strike because I never saw it. Coach, he struck me out 3 times that night. I couldn't catch up to his fastball. And you were umpiring then, Legion ball, when I pitched for Johnny Mack for Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those are great memories. And how many years did you umpire?
40 years.
40 years. You and Bud Miller, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
What do you
huh?
think of Terry being an umpire now? Is
Pardon?
that a hoot? Terry's an umpire now.
Oh, God forbid.
He's in our.
Now our culture is going to go to hell. Dan, our culture. All the myths that we created are now going to be dashed.
Yeah.
He's going to bring charm into umpiring.
I tell you, he's hard to sneak onto a field. I told him when
Hard to sneak on the field.
I told him when he first started umpiring. I said, "We'll put you in a uniform. You go on a field. They won't even know you're out there. Okay, that's my goal for you, and that's what way it's going to be. Because he's worried that all the players they're not going to recognize you. So we go to the field, and before we even get on the field, this lady's sitting in a lawn chair. Terry, she jumps up and goes and hugs him and kisses him and oh blah 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 blah. And then another time we're getting dressed to go to a
You
game.
can't do that as an umpire.
Oh yeah.
Well, but she was the scorekeeper.
But
He
I don't-
played against him for 6 years.
I don't care. You don't do those things.
I didn't ask her for the hug. She recognized me.
Hey, you don't do those things.
I know.
You don't do those
I'm a
things.
slow
he's-
learner, Coach.
And then he's out there talking to all the players, and he's coaching the pitchers. This guy gets pulled in a game. We just worked Ralston Valley, pretty good team. This kid gets pulled. He's feeling bad, and so Terry's on the bases, and the kid's going to play shortstop. And now Terry's out there patting him on the back and telling him about how to throw that baseball a little bit better and trying to give him a little bit of coaching. And I said to him, same thing you just said. You can't do that. I said, I'm trying to make him feel better. I'm trying to help him out a little bit.
I've learned not to do that now, Coach. I'm in my second year.
You're Dr. Goodlittle, or Dr. Goodgood.
Yeah. Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Feelgood.
I've learned kind of the other side. I come to the dark side now, and Dan Weichel's been kind enough to help me and has taught me a lot. And I hung around Bill Davis and Bob Jones for a long time, and I learned a lot from those guys. So, you know, why umpire, Coach? because it's a way for me to hang around the game.
I know what it is.
Because
It's
his arm, that rubber band's gonna pop pretty soon. You know, I'm
Guess
60.
what? You carry on. It's the association with being with the boys.
Right.
The boys of summer. That's what it is. And umpire is an extension of your career.
That's right. That's
I know.
why I'm doing it.
And I'm critiquing. See, Dan, I'm an official state observer.
Mm-hmm.
I grade football and basketball. I did say baseball, but baseball bored the hell out of me. You ever watch the difference when you're in so intense watching a basketball game, so intense watching football? You need a darn lawn chair to watch baseball.
Yeah.
You need a lawn chair to watch baseball.
Well, so I'm in town.
But I still, I still participate. I'm
Yeah.
83 years old. I still participate in the sports.
See, that's what I want to do when I finally hang it up. Is I want to do the observer.
So when were you born? When were you born?
1923.
1923.
Yeah.
So I go to the St. Louis Billikens basketball game about 2 months ago with Fred Weissman, my buddy. And who's down in the front row evaluating these referees? There he is, Coach Cliffe. I called him up just to say I was in town to say hi. He says, "You're going to the Billikens game?" "Yeah." He says, "Well, I'm down there evaluating. Come on down." Gets me in the front row down there with me. Coach taking care of me, man.
Yeah.
Looking
You're
after
always
me.
the coach, aren't you?
Always
You
the coach.
never lose that.
No.
I mean, Terry's 60, and he's still a little kid when he's
Yeah.
sitting
Oh,
next
yeah.
to you.
He has never grown up. I tell you, Dan, I think this. There's a time when I coach, and I mean this very passionately and fervently, don't ever be a friend of a kid. Be a father, but don't be a friend. And I tell a kid, you can call me coach, but you don't call me Ray. Don't get in my hip pocket. You're not that good. And I mean, I tell that. Remember that. When you are my equal, call me Ray.
Yeah.
I never called you Ray in my life.
I know,
my whole life.
but I'm saying that. I say
Yeah,
that.
that's
I say
right.
that some kids that I was
Coach Cliffe.
coaching. I would have a down at the Haven Inn on Loughborough, and I would meet every Saturday. And I started a tradition. Coaches would meet their staff from scouting reports and that, and I would sit down. Then I had 2 or 3 guys who had worked for me as grads who went out and come in and they'd sit down. And I said, "You may sit and have a soda. We only have like we can have a beer." I said, "You're not my equal, and you're at my table." No, I tell them that. I always wanted to keep that stature.
Yeah.
I'm the coach.
Yeah.
Now, but they're 19, 20 years old. You can be reporting, and I'll buy you a soda. I'll buy you a basket of shrimp,
Not a beer.
but no beer.
Yeah.
Oh, I said, well,
You always knew where to draw the line,
I
Coach.
do that.
And I always knew where the line was. Trust me, I always knew where the line was.
What kept you guys together so long?
I think, first of all, you establish it as a youngster to a coach, as I did with my coach. My coach became superintendent of a reformatory school. And at Missouri, I was playing ball and finished up my senior year. He asked me to become his athletic director. So there's a natural flow.
Yeah.
It's a flow of magnetism, attraction that you have in what they do.
What'd you see in this guy that was so
Well,
attractive?
there are a lot of things. You see, first of all, you got to look at a kid more than just a person. What is he doing as a human being? And he always fit so well to every environment he'd been in. And he wanted to be like his dad.
Yeah, you knew my dad.
Yeah, and Mr. Yochum, I call him Mr. Yochum. I never call him Dr. Yochum. Because he was such a fun guy, and I can see, and he was very critical. His dad was very critical of kids' progress, in athletics. He was, and I remember him getting so pissed off at Nebel, and he would share it with me. Oh. I'm going to take my kid out of school. I'm going to take my kid. I'm wasting my time. I said, come on. You want to play football for me? Well, I don't want to get hurt. You'll get hurt out there before you get hurt in football. Well, I said, well, like that out there.
Nebo was brutal, wasn't he? And you knew my mom too.
Oh, yeah.
He loved my mother. He knew my mom. And you know what? I think kept us together. We loved Cleveland.
That's it.
We're Dutchmen, man.
Yeah. See, it's the way that I think is the best way to describe. I think players and coaches and mentors, well, whether you're a physical coach or a spiritual coach, it's a camaraderie and a passion that you share in knowledge and the desire of a game or the game of life. I think this is important. And I think Terry and I have cemented our relationship because of that. Our way of life, our gift of life, our feel for life. And I think the most important thing I can say about him is zest for life. He gives it full measure. Full measure.
I wasn't the best guy ever pitched for you, but I'll tell you what.
Don't ever apologize.
I gave you 100%.
I know it. Don't ever apologize. Don't say if, what if.
I never shortchanged you.
I know, but
You
don't
know
ever
that.
say that. Don't say what if I did that. Don't ever qualify your goodness and your greatness. You were great.
There are some people that have an effect on life that you carry with you your whole life, right, Jerry?
That's right.
Outside of your dad?
Outside of my dad, Coach Cliffe, and Joseph Chansey, those three people, and Joseph Howe, those four people had the biggest impact on my entire life.
What did you learn from Coach Cliff?
Well, I learned from Coach Cliffe how to win and how to lose, and how to be able to win and lose. And I learned from Coach Cliffe that if you worked hard, you could find a different level in another gear that you didn't know you had. And you were just like Ed Fogarty, and Ed Fogarty was just like you.
Always have vision. Vision beyond.
Somehow he carried himself in such a way that you wanted to do whatever it took to win for him. Dennis Rill said the same thing. He's going to say it Sunday night when we go to your Hall of Fame thing at Washington University. Somehow, and those are the only two coaches I ever played for. Coach Ray Cliffe and Coach Ed Fogarty. And even my college coaches, even Joe Yules, who I played for at Cape Girardeau. No, I'm sorry. You were a much better coach.
Joe Yules.
I pitched for Joe Yules at Cape.
Joe would remind me of an unmade bed.
Yeah, you said it, Coach. He couldn't carry your.
What a nice guy, but
no,
I looked at him.
I don't know what it was. It was intangible, Dan. You wanted to win for him, not so much for yourself. You wanted to not let Coach down. He carried himself in such a way, and I think that's a fine line, and I don't think very many coaches have the ability to get the best out of every player. That was part of his persona. And I never played for anybody else like that except Ed Fogarty. But even college, even the semi-pro, all the teams, none of them. You and Ed Fogarty, the only two guys that were at that level. The rest of them, well below your knees, Coach. Not even close. So maybe we ought to wrap it up now. Is there anything you want to say in the end here? So I want to say thanks a million for you taking time to come here and give this interview. It means the world to me. Coach has agreed to write a forward to this book and be part of this book because you know what, Coach? I may live in Denver, Colorado, and I've come back and we've talked about playing the senior league. I know you've always been impressed the fact that I still continue to play. I know that's always been something that's always tickled your heart a little bit. But I may be living in Denver, but I'm a South St. Louis boy. I'm a Dutchman.
Let me pay a tribute to you. You made me what I am. Because all the little cementations and all the little bricks in my life are the players. And they make me what I am. If a coach thinks he did it because of his motivation, because of his, he's only whistling Dixie in the dark. Every player is a big contribution towards my life and my character. Right, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. You can't
Every
do
kid
it.
contributes. Every kid contributes. Every kid that comes out and sacrifices his time, his willingness, his devotion, makes the coach.
You're the best coach. Always have been. God bless you. Thanks,
God bless you.
Thanks for doing this. You're the best.
Wow.